Welcome to the Triple Play Fantasy Football YouTube channel. I am your host at @theboys_22, and I'm here today to talk about Mac Jones Dynasty Outlook. So, as we know, a lot of talk about Mac Jones going 3, didn't go 3. Where did he fall to? And he fell to the New England Patriots, which is like a perfect match made in heaven in terms of people going to hate on him. Where does he go? Where is his Dynasty outlook? And for me, I love Dynasty. That's kind of my forte. So I really wanted to break this down and look at him as a whole. I don't like necessarily to do these breakdowns prior to landing spot because I think landing spot matters, especially for quarterbacks. The most important thing I've ever heard on a podcast, kind of something I live by, is like, great teams have a plan for the people they draft. So great teams have a path for them. They know that how they're going to use them. They know, hey, this is what we can fit in their system. Great teams do that. So for sometimes when I see some prospects go to teams that we don't consider great, we consider like, hey, they have some issues. There's a reason why they're always drafting high. That worries me for certain prospects. And so for Mac, where he went, hey, we know they're a great team. They have a great system. They have great coaches. So I like this. So I wanted to look at it from that perspective. So if we're looking at it from like a college stats perspective, first of all, just get this out of the way really quick. We saw him at Alabama. He's a national champion. He had 6,000 yards passing, 56 touchdowns, 7 interceptions for his career. He saw his completion percentage go up from 2019 to 2020. He had a 68% completion percentage in 2019. He had a 77% completion percentage in 2020. So when you're looking at what he did from a college perspective, you couldn't ask for better. And I will be honest, as someone who does Devy, who really focuses on these guys, Mac is someone who I never really was that high on, even when he was coming out. I know a lot of other Devy guys, some other guys that are really highly respected, love him. For me, I always was like, hey, his athleticism worries me. Kind of where does his arm strength go? So I'm coming from you guys and with you guys as someone who is very – I don't want to say pessimistic, but I need to look. I really want to focus on what can he do? Can he elevate his game at this level and be a legitimate quarterback option for fantasy? That's why we're here. We're talking about fantasy here. So, and he doesn't have that Konami code, right? So can he be a good enough quarterback for your guys' teams? So the thing that I think is fascinating is Bill Belichick's scouting process. So one thing that they did, they pulled this up, and this is kind of what he looks for at quarterbacks. If you haven't read the book Belichick, by the way, I know it's massive. It is an amazing book. I would take that out. I read that in basically a week when all the lockdown goes on, talking about his processes, just how smart Belichick is. It blows your mind. So let's look at what he talks about with the quarterback. So number one is to make good decisions. So then he looks at the arm, size, physically tough, leadership, guys look up to and have confidence in, a real competitor. Then he goes on to say, accurate rather than a guy with a cannon. Emphasis on our game will be on decision, timing, accuracy. Guy needs to be confident, intelligent is important, but not as much as field awareness and judgment. Can't be sloppy fundamentally. Unsound guy with ball handling, text, etc. Footwork drops, release, etc. QB has to be able to throw the ball with accuracy. So when you're looking at this process, and I'll let you guys kind of take a look at it, I don't want to say this just screams Mac Jones, but damn well, it pretty does. Like when you're looking at his scouting process, what he looks for, there's a lot of things in here that see why they probably were happy that he fell to him. Mac Jones fell to them. So what we're going to do, and what I'm going to do is we're going to look at Mac Jones and I'm going to do a little bit of a scouting profile, which everybody has done. I know that. But again, we're going to look at it from Belichick's point of view, like what he's looking for, what he's seeing, plus kind of film from those things, right? So the first thing I want to look at is decision making, because that's the first thing that Belichick talks about. For me, I grade him out at an A-, but hey, you know what? When people do grades, it's kind of here or there. It's basically subjective, but I think that he does a very good job with his decision making. So let's take a look at kind of what we're looking at when we talk about decision making. So you'll see it here. Again, he reads really well. He goes through his progressions really well. So the thing about Jones that I like is his ability to kind of go through progressions. Okay, he looks up the field. He has really good intangibles inside the pocket. He knows where he's going. Now, that last play we'll show you again here in a second. But if you look here, again, he knows where his progression is going. He knows who his athletes are, and he knows where to get them the ball. The thing about him, as we go through here and we kind of watch, is that he knows where to go. He uses his body well. He uses his eyes well. He scans the field, gets the safeties to kind of hesitate. This is the play that I wanted to point out. So pre-snap, you'll see. Okay, you're going to see him here. Pre-snap, they talk to each other. Okay, right here. You're going to see him point. So he points. They already have something pre-snap. They see something in the defense. He knows that he can beat him one-on-one. They talk. So when we're talking about decision-making, he knows where he's going with this ball. And you'll notice it here. He's already looking here. He's deep safe. He sees him coming off the corner blitz, right? He does a play action. They notice something in their film. There's something there that Mac Jones and Devonta Smith did very well here. And then you'll notice here, hey, he sees it. He doesn't even look on the other side because he knows where that's going. To me, that's progression. Again, look at here. He knows where his offense is going to be. He sees his receiver coming across the middle. He's able to step up, make that throw, and there. So for me, decision-making for Mac Jones, there's really no one that – I want to say no one's better in this class because obviously there's other guys, Field, Lawrence, and those guys, but he does a great job. He knows within the system. Now, the big knock on him was like, is he a system quarterback? Well, I mean, everybody's pretty much a system quarterback. Just because he played in a great system with great weapons around him doesn't necessarily make me like down on him too much. He played with who he had to play with, and he got better, and he improved, and he showed that he is good within the system. That's what you want to see from your quarterbacks. Now, if we look at the next thing, so he talks about arm strength. So when we looked in like the profile and kind of when we were going over him, arm strength for me is a B. And I think this is kind of my biggest concern with him as you go. You'll notice here the ball tends to flail a little bit. Not a bad pass here. So I'm not saying that he's terrible arm strength, but the ball can tend to, flail on him a little bit. You'll see the receivers have to come back a little bit. But again, like we're not talking about a huge amount of zip, but there are some times where you can see like this, he tries to get it to him as fast as he can, get to Waddle. Not a terrible pass, but Waddle's got to come back, right? So when we're talking about, hey, Waddle's got to come back there, that's not something that I necessarily want to see. Again, okay, in the NFL level. College level, you sometimes can get away with this. This is another throw, so we're going to pause it really quick. You're going to see him. He knows where he's going with this ball, and he does score a touchdown here. But I don't necessarily like that. You saw Smith had to kind of come back a little bit to that pass. In the NFL, that's an interception. So a lot of his decisions and a lot of his things that you'll see from him from an arm strength point of view is that he was able to kind of go up. He took a lot of risks, but because of the athletes that he had. Now, he's not going to have that with New England. We're going to mention their weapons. We're going to talk about it. So he does take a lot of risks. With that arm strength, he's going to have to limit that because he's going to throw interceptions. Okay, so I think that is the one area of concern I have is does he have the arm strength? Now, I think that he went to a good team that has a plan for him. So I think they're going to limit those limitations. So that's one thing they're always got to come in mind. That's why I like doing these things after they get drafted. Now, his next one is, I think, one of his best is accuracy. So we saw, like I said, he improved his completion percentage by 10%. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. He does a really good job. I gave him an A-, but he's in that A- to A range. I think that his accuracy is probably one of his best attributes. So let's just take a look. When we're watching this, again, this is an absolute dime. Okay, hits Waddle right in the back of the end zone. He catches it there. I think this is the area that we're going to see from him and his progression through this. If he can get the weapons to get this, this is my favorite part of Mac Jones' game. It's kind of one of the areas that I have for him. Again, you'll see this. And this is an amazing catch by Smith. We know that. But he put it where Smith could get it. And that's what the goal of quarterbacks are, right? Okay, he's going to put it where they need to get it, right over the shoulder. Again, this is kind of when I'm watching him play and watching him throw the ball. And even though he's wide open here, that still shows me that he has the accuracy to get it. Now, there's tons of throws here. I want to repeat this one. And you'll see him. He knows where he's going. He has the arm strength just enough to get it there. And it's just a dime. Okay, that's what we're looking for when we talk about quarterbacks and we're talking about Mac Jones. And this is what Belichick's going to look for. He loves accuracy. He loves being able to put on the back shoulder. He knows that Smith is that receiver. And I think that one thing that I appreciate from Jones when I watch him play football is that he knows his teammates. He knows the limitations of his receivers. He knows his running backs. So that's what you want to see. That's what we talk about with that intangibles things that we're going to get to. Jones demonstrates that he's a very good teammate, but he's a thinker. He understands the game. He knows where everybody's going to be. So to me, that gives him a little plus, right? So when we looked at Belichick's scouting process, when we were talking about this, he'd rather accurate than a guy with a cannon. Emphasis on the game will be decision, timing, and accuracy. He has decision, timing, and accuracy. His timing is very good. You notice that just by the throws that we saw. Now, if we go to the next part of the scouting report for New England, size, physicality. To me, his grade's a B. When we're talking about Mac Jones, 6'3", 217, everybody has that dad bod picture out there. He looks better than me, but that's not saying much. So I understand that, like, when we're looking at in terms of what is his physicality, what is his size, it's okay. I didn't really include pocket presence. I think he has good pocket presence, but he definitely is not like burner athlete going to get out of trouble. So I think that here, but I don't think that matters in this system, right? Like if he went to a different system that definitely wants an athletic guy in back there, I think that maybe matters more, but the Patriots don't want that. Like the Patriots, look at Tom Brady. Okay, and now I'm not ever comparing Mac Jones to Tom Brady, but that profile, right? When we look at athletic profile, That's kind of what we're seeing there. Now, the last part of this, and it's just based on their scouting profile, is intangibles and fundamentals. My grade's a B+, because I think that he does very well. I had Nick Whalen on. He talked about quarterbacks for me on another podcast, and we talked about this. He loves his intangibles and his footwork. And I think one thing that we talk about, too, is, well, watch. Say he's going to be here in the pocket. We see him step up, he pump fake. He does a lot of little things that I don't think people understand. Like, hey, he pump fakes, gets people to move. He's a thinker. He has that intangibles. And that's why I keep coming back. I'm telling you, like, I wasn't high on him, but every time I watch him play, he does those little things that you like to see from a quarterback. And again, you'll see it here. Intangibles. He makes that pump fake. He creates that separation. Again, good in pocket. Here he steps up where he needs to step up in. Gets it to his guy. Now, those pockets are nice. Like, we're not talking about a terrible offensive line. We know that. Pump faking. And then his play action skills, too. And we're going to talk about the scheme here in a minute with McDaniels and the scheme that they're going to do. Play action's huge for New England's scheme. It's going to be huge for Jones. Jones did this very well in Alabama. Play action here. He knows where he's going. And we did watch this on the arm strength problem, but I did so. His mechanics is the other reasons why I do it. Again, you'll see the pocket here. Steps up. He's about to get hit. He takes that hit, drops a dime, okay, to Mechie in the corner. Other one, okay, pump fakes here. You'll see it. Okay, he steps in. Again, defender falls, but he puts it right where one needs to go. Okay, so when I'm looking at, like, his fundamentals, what he can do, his ability to step up in the pocket, he gets his feet set. He's not great on the run when he gets out of the pocket, but he is able to keep his eyes downfield. He definitely sets his feet. He definitely gets square. He does all the things that you want to see from a quarterback. He does all of those processes. Now, when we're looking at what do we expect from him there. So I think his scouting profile fits what Belichick wants. When we looked at the processes, that's what he wants. Now, what does New England have for him? So when we're looking at New England's weapons, let's take a look at their depth chart. We know Cam is probably going to get the start. I could see Cam doing the possibility where he's playing like 4, 5, 6, 7 games, depending on how it goes. But after that, let's look at their weapons. So they have Damian Harris, who I think is pretty good. Sony Michel, James White, J.J. Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson got drafted there. I think their running back crew is exactly what they want. They're going to do running back by committee, pound, and that's kind of their system there. Wide receivers, again, we're not talking about burners here. Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, N'Keal Harry. There's really nothing there that's like, oh my gosh, that's something that is going to be barn burners, great wide receivers. But their tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, they clearly have a plan. So the thing is that they used to run what they used to call the Joker formation. Now, if you knew this was with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. A lot of 2 tight end sets, Joker formations. It's kind of what you'll see also Cam used to run that with Carolina. Ron Rivera used to run the Joker formation. So you'll see this Joker formation. I think that's what they're going to do with Jonnu and Hunter Henry, create mismatches and matchups, okay, matchup issues. So Smith and Henry are going to be running this Joker formation. They got Aguilar, who had a good year last year. Jacoby, he can catch, kind of PPR formats. Kendrick Bourne, who I think is underrated. I don't know what the hell to think of N'Keal Harry. You have to tell me about that. But then they can also use James White, Sony Michel, J.J. Taylor, these other guys in different roles. I actually don't hate the weapons because I think of this guy. Josh McDaniels is one of the best offensive coaches in the league. Was he a good head coach? No, but I don't care about that right now when we're talking about this. Josh McDaniels fits his schemes very well. The number one video that you need to watch is when him and Belichick are talking about the Rams drive that they had to score a touchdown. That just shows you everything that you need to know about Josh McDaniels and what he does to put himself in position and put his players in position. They're going to do that for Mac Jones. He is the perfect coordinator for Mac Jones. Okay. Now, I'm going to go through a couple plays with McDaniels in the scheme. It's hard with their scheme because it changes based on personnel. They always do it. Can't show you Cam's. It's hard to show you Brady's because Mac Jones isn't Brady. But I will show you kind of what we're looking at here. So you're going to see a lot of play action. So the first thing I want to show you guys is the play action that they're going to run. They run a lot of crossing routes, and they give their quarterback a lot of options. So the thing that Mac Jones is going to succeed here is that they're going to give him a lot of options, and especially with these tight ends and these kind of possession wide receivers. So let's take a look at this play first. So we're going to see it here. A lot of pre-snap motion. Brady's very good at that. We know that. Jones is pretty good at that as well. You're going to see pre-snap motion, a great fake, which is exactly what Jones excelled at Alabama. And, hey, a miscatch. Okay, obviously he didn't catch it there, mispass there. But let's watch it again. So you're going to see a lot of pre-snap motion. Jones is going to have to pick up on this. He's going to have to basically use his running backs, which they have that core that we just mentioned. a lot of crossing routes, create separation, and there's a lot of skills. And what you're going to see there, and you saw that running back out of that backfield that was wide open, Jones is going to hit that guy. Okay, so when we talk about kind of what Jones is going to do, he's going to hit that guy because I believe that's where he's going to kind of make his money, dumping down, being a game manager, being smart. Now, as a fantasy outlook, I don't know. I don't know what his fantasy outlook is going to be in terms of that. But he is going to be a very good QB in terms of their system. Now, the next one I wanted to show you here is one thing they did with Brady towards the end of his career was they did a lot of 5 wide receiver sets. And they put these guys out. They got the ball out quick because he was limited in terms of what he did. Now, when I mean career with the Patriots. He was limited in terms of what the athletes they had around him, but these are the same guys that they have around him now. Like, we're not talking about the Bucs offense now. We're talking about that offense I just showed you in New England. So they're going to kind of do the same concepts, I believe. So they're going to get these guys out wide, have them do a lot of option routes, and let Mac Jones kind of get the ball out quick. And I think that's going to excel. You'll notice it here in McDaniel's system. Again, pre-snap reads. You're going to watch that a lot with the system here. You're going to see him here. Brady knows where he's going. Quick out, gets it to them. That system and those plays and what we see is going to be what we have, except you're going to have Journey Smith, Hunter Henry, these other guys there, the Joker formation, these other groups. They're going to use them all over. I'm not really that down on that offensive weapons because of McDaniel's ability to kind of set himself apart. And he's one of the best offensive minds in football. So Mac Jones is going to come in. They're going to the one thing that we're going to see is how do they use Cam? How are they going to use Mac? I think they're going to create a system for both that they know will fit both their games, but it's going to be run heavy scheme, right? So when we're thinking fantasy, QB2 to me is more of a factor than QB1. So he can be a QB2 in your leagues. I think that he can definitely have that. Now, if we're looking at his ADP right now, so his Superflex startup ADP is 63.25. So he's going as QB24. In rookie drafts and Superflex, he's going as an 11, 12-ish QB5. That's incredible value. Like I saw him go at the 201 in a Superflex league, a 12 team. You have to draft him at that point. Like, that is too incredible value for these quarterbacks, especially with the landscape of quarterbacks going out of there. Quarterbacks matter in Superflex leagues. I don't care what anybody says. Quarterbacks do matter. You need to grab him just based on draft capital, just based on, hey, he's going to New England, just based on what we just showed you, that's everything that he has scouting profile. This is a starting quarterback. Okay. Now, in terms of where he's going around, I like to put the 3 that are going ahead of him. So Daniel Jones, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins. So essentially, you're looking at those kind of 3 guys there. Brady's the other one I didn't mention in here just because I understand why you would take Brady in terms of if you're competing and those type of things. So essentially, you could get him as your QB3-ish. And maybe QB2 if you're comfortable taking him as QB2. To be honest, it depends on how I'm building my team. I like Cousins. I think Ryan is going to be there. How many years do those guys got left? Jones has a lot of question marks too, right? So when we're thinking of Daniel Jones, what he's been able to do, this is probably a prove it year for him. Mac Jones is probably going to get at least 2 years to, hey, can he do this? Can he succeed in this league? So if I'm looking at it from a dynasty perspective, I think I'd rather take the shot on Mac Jones in a system that I know that he can succeed in and give me my QB2, QB3. That's my perspective from this. Now, if we're looking at like trade value, what do you want with trade value? Where is he going right now? Very recent trade value. So Mac Jones got traded for Kyle Trask, Zach Moss, and Waddle. I don't hate it. If you need a quarterback in that league, Moss and Trask to me are just are not assets that I definitely want to have on my team. Waddle is the guy that I love. I know he's my wide receiver too. If you've been following me or watching me for a while, you know that. So that's a tougher one to swallow. But again, this is a quarterback in a Superflex league. If you need one, I understand that. Here's another one that I wouldn't do. Mac Jones, Taysom Hill for Eckler. I think Eckler has top 5 running back potential in PPR leagues. So I'm not doing that deal. I would want something more a little bit back for Eckler. Can I understand it? I guess I can understand it. But if I'm getting rid of Eckler, I want something a little bit more than that. And I definitely don't want Taysom Hill on my roster. And then the other one I would do is Mac Jones for Chris Carson. In a Superflex league, guys, if you don't necessarily play in too many Superflex leagues, that is incredible. Carson's got I feel like he's a 1 more year contract kind of running back. If you're competing, that's the guy that you want. I guess I would understand if you need a running back. But if you can get Mac Jones for Chris Carson, I would absolutely do that deal. That's just something that I would basically do. Leverage it, have that dynasty asset that can increase in value, especially in Superflex league, and I take that. So overall, when we're talking about Mac, like I've been telling you, I'm not as high as other people on him, but I see a role where he can be a solid QB2. And his value is pretty low right now. Like I said, he's going as QB24. That's pretty low for a rookie quarterback coming to the league that's going in the first round of Superflex or early second. So if you wanted to trade for this guy, be a QB3 and have a solid guy that I think that's going to play next year. He's definitely going to play in 2 years. He's around McDaniels. He's around Belichick. I think Mac Jones is your guy. That's the guy that I would take a shot on. That's the guy that I'm going to basically, hey, out of those guys in that area, 22 to 30, in Dynasty, I'll take the young asset and build around him. And that's just based on his scouting process, based on Belichick, what he wanted. So give a shot to Mac Jones. He's an interesting prospect. He's not someone that you have to give a ton of value up to. He's someone that I believe could have a very solid career as a QB2 in this league, given the things around him, given where he landed, and given that a great team picked him and has a spot for him and has a plan for him. That's what I'm basing this on. So I appreciate you taking a look. Let us know what you think. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm crazy in the comments, whatever, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate you. A lot of great things coming down the pipe for Triple Play. Give us that subscribe. Give us that like. Follow me on Twitter. Any questions that you have, we appreciate you guys. So until next time, thank you for listening.